I wear a couple of hats. I teach creative writing in the English department, mostly fiction. I'm a fiction writer and a translator. And here at the Lit House, I work with the reading series, the authors that we bring in to give workshops and talks. I work with the student publications. I work on Cherry Tree, the literary journal that we have here. And I direct our summer conference, which is for high school writers. We bring in usually 4 or 5 professional writers to run the workshops. This year we'll have fiction, poetry, and journalism, with another smaller workshop that everybody takes in creative nonfiction. So we've usually got between 30 and 40 high school students coming in from, mostly from the region. So they're coming from Virginia and Maryland and the district and Delaware, and then we'll get a few from Pennsylvania and New Jersey usually. And they come here for this 4-day intense literary extravaganza that we put on for them. So they've got 2 hours of workshops with their professor every day, and then the rest of the day is panels and readings by the authors, readings by the interns who are Washington College students who are here to stay with the students in the dorms and sort of shepherd them around the campus a little bit, have meals with them, answer their questions about what it's like to be a college student. The idea with the conference is building a couple of things in these high school writers. First of all is their skills, right? There's a skill set that you can pick up in a couple of days of really intense workshops, and that's what our guest faculty are in charge of. But we're also trying to help build a sense of identity in these students as writers, right? Most of them do not think of themselves that way. And at 16, 17, 18 years old, maybe that's fairly healthy, but it's also a good time to start getting a sense of that, right? To start thinking of themselves primarily as people who work in words and who care about language and who care about story in whatever form, care about lyricism. The other thing that we're trying to build in them is a sense of community. We all do the essential work alone, right? We're at our desk, we're in our office, we're out in the yard, wherever. And that work, the building of the sentences or the building of the lines, we do on our own, but that gets lonely sometimes. And especially over the past couple of years of the pandemic, when we've all been more isolated than ever before. And that's had some small upsides for some of us, but it's also intensified the sense of isolation, I think, that a lot of people already felt. And so we want the students who come here to know that they're not alone, right? Which is the gift that writers have always given readers, right? That's one of the things that books give us. But it's nice when it's human beings giving them that sense as well. And so this year, one of the writers is Toni Jensen, a really wonderful writer whose career I've been following for a while. Her first book was short fiction, and then she also has more recently a memoir that's just tremendous. For journalism, we've got Jason Fagoni, the long-form nonfiction writer at the San Francisco Chronicle and author of a couple of really terrific books, beautiful lyrical language about sort of unlikely topics. His first book was about competitive eating, called The Horseman of the Esophagus, one of the all-time great titles. More recently, he wrote a magnificent article about an elderly couple in Massachusetts who figured out how to game the Massachusetts State Lottery, called Jerry and Marge Go Large, which was turned into a film a couple of months ago, which came out a couple of months ago with Bryan Cranston and Annette Bening and other folks. For poetry, we have Marcy Calbreda-Canciobello, who's a terrific poet. We're really excited about her and her work. She had a magnificent poem in the most recent issue of Cherry Tree, which was how we became directly connected with her. I already mentioned Toni Jensen, one of the fiction writers, and the other is Cara Blue Adams, who is a writer that we've known and loved for a long time. We tried to get her for last year's conference, but there was a scheduling conflict. But she said it looks great make me your first call next year. So we did, and we're delighted that she's going to be joining us. And this conference costs $795 for the 4 days. One of the things that's really, really important to us is that there be access to this conference for everyone. And so a big part of my remit as director the rest of the year when the conference isn't actually going on is going out and finding money to put towards scholarships. And we've had a lot of success with that, such that about a third of the students every year are on full scholarship that pays for everything, the tuition, the room and board, the books, everything. Some of the donors specify that the scholarships be given to students from a given geographical location. So we have a couple that are reserved for students from Kent or Queen Anne's County, for example, a few more that are reserved for students from the lower shore of Maryland and Delaware. We have, working with the Talbot Arts Council, we have scholarships for students from Talbot County. We also had, there's one also from, for students from the Eastern Shore, for students of color, that we've just started this year through Needle's Eye Academy. And we're grateful to everybody who puts their shoulder to the wheel to help get the word out and to make it possible for students who might not otherwise be able to come to the conference to join us in July.